Welcome, guys. It's the Gridiron Gurus presented by Keith. I'm joined by Jesse. And if it's Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, guys, welcome to have you. We got a few things to talk about. If you'll notice at the bottom of the screen, we have our notes that we are going to talk about, which are it's college football news. We're going to talk about the FCS Championship game that was played on Monday. And the college football spotlight, new segment we've got, which is the what ifs. We're going to get into that a little bit later. And plus our 5 and 5. Top 5 live mascots, something we should have done last week and did not get around to. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and start right into it with college football news. It's 100 days until we get our first college football game coming back. Really excited about that. It's just kind of, one of those things that we turn the page and you can actually see the end in sight as far as, hey, it's coming. We're almost there. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the games that are going to be coming up in week 1 that we feel are either going to be really interesting to watch, going to have a national, I guess what I'm trying to say is a national impact as far as playoff seeding goes. A couple of these are, that I have at least, are out of conference power teams playing, and a couple of them are actually, or at least one of them, is that I chose as in conference, which is kind of cool to see at the beginning of the year.
Games that should happen every year but haven't really happened until the playoff.
And you're talking about like out of conference guys playing that are.
First of all, you introduced me wrong, by the way, Keith. I thought we
did
clarified this.
Did.
No, it's Rocky Top Red.
It's Rocky Top Red. You're right. That's my fault.
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah. So 100 days to college football. And I think everybody is excited about that. Anybody like us, college football nerds, have to be excited about it. Some of the games, and I don't really know for spotlighting them. We mentioned them once before, but we finally have times now. We have times, and we have some networks that they're going to be aired on for the first time. And we have Bama in Miami at 3:30 on ABC.
That's as far as like I picked 4, and that was the fourth one that I picked.
It'll be an exciting game to watch. But
Absolutely.
I think we talked about for the first 3-4 minutes it'll be a game, and then Alabama will just take over.
I think
That's typical,
but you never know. Miami could keep it a game for a quarter and a half, but I just don't see it. I think it'll be kind of like what we talked about last week, the Lindsey Wilson Northwestern game.
Or
Northeastern.
Gosh.
And I think Alabama takes over and just runs away with it. So
yeah, I agree. But something, another game that same day is Georgia and Clemson. And these games are both on September 4th, which is actually technically the second opening weekend. The first opening weekend is the 28th.
Right.
And there's only a few games that day.
Right.
And I got a game to watch for that day here in a second that I'll mention. But Georgia and Clemson, I figured that both the Georgia Clemson and Bama Miami game would be the same time, and you have to pick or choose which one you want to watch.
Right.
Obviously, I was going to watch Georgia and Clemson because Bama and Miami I don't think will be a game.
Right.
But Georgia and Clemson kick off at 7:30, so you got a 4-hour window there. They're going to let that Bama game get all the way through and let you watch the real game, the actual exciting game later that night. That's at 7:30, also on ABC. And then that Sunday, Notre Dame at Florida State.
I have that one down as well.
7:30 kickoff on ABC. The exciting thing for me on that one is who's playing quarterback for Florida State? Mackenzie Milton, former Central Florida quarterback. This is his first time actually in a game playing live game reps other than the spring game.
Right.
Since the leg injury.
Right.
So it's going to be exciting to see.
He was a very exciting player at UCF.
He was.
Very exciting.
Yeah, he was really good. He was already on a lot of big boards, NFL big boards.
Right.
With what he did at UCF. So that'll be exciting to watch. And Notre Dame, though I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year, I think they are going to be good. I think they're going to be competitive.
They'll be in the national picture, especially if they can get a win.
I think so.
If they can beat Florida State, and I think
Notre Dame. It's Notre Dame. They could go in, and it don't matter what they do. They could lose everybody, and they're still going to be projected or going to be put in the national spotlight just because of who they are.
Because of the name. Right.
Because it's Notre Dame. But speaking of Notre Dame, before I get to this next one, I heard this today on the radio. Didn't know this game was coming back. We didn't have it last year because of COVID. Notre Dame and USC.
That should be there. That should be back.
It should be. It should be. That's one
national.
There's a lot of rivalries that we have in college football that are exciting to watch.
Right.
Regardless of if it's your team or not. That is one of them.
Absolutely.
You think back to the Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush USC and Notre Dame games.
Right.
The games of Brady Quinn at Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
And Charlie Weiss was it the coach they had that time?
Yes, it was. I think he came from the Patriots and went to Notre Dame.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
So.
It was exciting football. It was exciting to watch. I think the last year, the last year that Leinart and Bush were there.
I think the push?
I think that's what I was going. Yeah, I think, and that was at Notre Dame, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So.
Which was exciting.
Yeah, I mean, anytime. Yeah, games like that are exciting. Very exciting. But the game though on August 28th, there's only like 5 games that day.
Right.
But it's college football. I mean, you're going to watch. It's college football.
Right.
But the game
opening weekend. I mean.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? But the game to watch that day, though, for me, is Nebraska at Illinois.
I seen that, and I thought I was going to put it on there, and I didn't because the other one is a little more intriguing to me. But I mean, Illinois has what's his name?
Scott Frost. Or are you talking about coach? Or are you talking about player?
Illinois has Scott Frost.
Oh, I thought you said Nebraska. No, Illinois has Brett Bielema.
Brett Bielema, right?
In his debut,
right?
Big Ten, his return to the Big Ten.
Return to the Big Ten, right? And then he's playing against, like I said, Scott Frost in Nebraska, and that's a big one. The other one that I had, which I had the same ones you did, I'm actually going to go back to Georgia Clemson in a minute, but the other one I had was Penn State and Wisconsin, which is it's just a big thing.
That is a big game.
In conference. Yeah. Seeing who's going to be coming up out of that side of their division to play. But to me, it's just a big game. But like I said, I'm going to go back to Georgia Clemson.
So that's an opening game, Penn State, Wisconsin?
Mm-hmm.
See, that's big to me for a couple of reasons. One reason is, and I know I'm probably going to catch a lot of grief, like you're an idiot for saying that, but it's the truth. I think that this is a pivotal year for James Franklin. I think that this year is very important.
I do too.
He's kind of, went, up and down,
mm-hmm.
and I think this is going to be the year it's going to make or break. He's going to have to. He's going to have to make some type of push
mm-hmm.
For some type of title contention, whether it's the Big Ten title
mm-hmm.
or making some noise in a big bowl or a push for a playoff berth. He's going to have to do something to save his job. I think he's on the hot seat.
I agree. I think he's going to have to either, like you said, make a Big 12 push, but he still has Ohio State in there. Big 10. I'm sorry. My bad. He's still got Ohio State to contend with in that conference.
Mm-hmm.
But if he can at least make some like a big bowl game to win it, or at least be on the outside looking into a national championship berth or a playoff berth, then he's going to save his job. But the other thing that goes into that is what does Harbaugh do at Michigan? If he tanks again, and he's
I agree.
And Franklin is sitting at 7-6 in the national polls with maybe one loss to Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
He saves his job. He's like, well, look, I've got my guys here.
Right.
So on the outside looking in on a national playoff berth. So that will save him too. It kind of depends on what happens at Michigan. If Harbaugh comes out and he beats him too, then Franklin might be on the hot seat.
Yeah. Well, and the reason I say Wisconsin is because Wisconsin, they are a contender or at least competitive every single year.
Every single year.
And, last year they had a pretty good team. The year before, I don't remember their record, but I feel like that I think they finished second or third in that division. I feel like, or maybe they may have won the division.
I think they won the division.
They may have won the division.
Played Ohio State in the
second in the conference.
Big Ten conference.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think they did. So, that's an important game, and it's an opening game. You've had all this time to prepare.
Right.
All eyes are on you. So it's
right.
I don't know. It's just a big game. Where's that game being held at?
I think Wisconsin, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
I just wrote it down real quick. I didn't look to see who was the home team.
I mean, if he loses an opening game to Wisconsin,
I don't
in
care where
Happy
it's at.
Valley.
I don't care where it's at.
Well, yeah, no, but if it's in Happy Valley, that even bigger. And I feel like is Penn State playing Auburn this season?
I haven't.
I'm
looked
about
at
to
the
pull that
schedule,
up. I feel like Penn State has an Auburn on the schedule.
Ooh, that's interesting.
And yeah,
Very interesting.
you go ahead and tell me the rest of yours, and I'm gonna pull up their schedule.
I was going to go back to Georgia Clemson because
Okay.
this is a game that will have, without a doubt, national implications on who's going to make the playoffs.
I agree.
Because if Georgia wins and they've still got to go down and they've got to play Alabama, they'll probably be in the SEC title game. They've got to pretty much run the table, win or loss. Clemson's in a little bit of a different boat because they're going to play in the ACC and they're going to run the table there,
Right.
with the exception of probably like a North Carolina who's going to have a very good football team.
They're gonna be very good.
They're going to be very good. But Clemson's going to be there even if they lose. If Clemson loses, they can still get in on a one-loss. Granted, they beat North Carolina and win their conference title, which I think they will. I think Clemson will get in. But if Georgia loses, then they're one loss away from not making the national playoff at all.
Right.
And then people are going to be kind of questioning Kirby Smart on it, whether his long-term availability or his future there.
And we've talked about that. We've talked about Kirby too.
I think,
aside from the one playoff appearance,
right, where he actually got to the national title game.
he didn't make the national
lost
title
to Tua.
game. Lost to Tua. But aside from that, he has not done anything really more than Mark Richt.
Right.
He has been Mark Richt Volume 2.
You're right.
And
but, there again, you're fighting with Saban.
that's true. That's true.
That's
but
what it is.
But you're on the opposite division. If he is that much better than Mark Richt, if he's the guy, then Georgia should be playing Nick Saban in the SEC title game every single year.
Right.
They've not done that.
Right.
Florida has done that.
Florida's going to be a problem.
They are going to be a problem.
As bad as I hate to say it, but Dan Mullen will be a problem in the SEC. Just simple as that.
Do you want to go ahead and make a prediction on that Georgia Clemson game right now?
I can. Yeah.
Who you got?
I got Clemson.
Yeah. Okay.
I got Clemson.
I don't think it's a blowout.
28-14.
That's a good prediction.
But I got them by 14 points.
2 scores. Yeah, 2 scores ain't okay. I think it's a little bit closer.
Oh, I can see it being closer.
Points wise. But I think it gets closer at the end. I think that DJ
DJ, just go with DJ.
Yeah, I shouldn't have tried. I shouldn't have even attempted it. But I think that he has an even better season than we expect.
Oh, I do too.
Even better than.
But
CT
I also wonder how
expects.
long it'll take him to get his legs underneath of him and just really hit get going.
See, I don't know. He's got Justin Ross still there,
right?
And barring he comes back, fully healthy off of his injury,
right?
But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what Georgia's defense can cook up to try to limit them.
That's the only reason I think it's a little closer. I think if your spread is more than 14, I'm taking Georgia to cover. But 14 and under, Georgia won't cover 14. I don't think so. I don't think Georgia gets within 14 points.
I like the prediction.
I can also see it being a 35-21 game.
Yeah.
It's still the 2 touchdowns, but
yeah.
And it also could come down to a field goal. It could be that close. But like I said, I think from right now, I think it's a 14-point game. I think Clemson wins, and I think that puts Georgia out of the playoffs because I think they'll also lose to Alabama or Florida.
I think so too. Which, by the way, Florida and Alabama play this season in the regular season.
Right, it's their turn to play.
Yeah.
I'm not betting against Alabama.
No, I'm not either. I do think the game is closer than the experts expect, but I'm not betting against Alabama.
And that's not an opening weekend, so we'll have a little more time to kind of look and see what each team has.
So going back to Penn State, I've got their schedule here. They play the third week against Auburn. It's in Happy Valley. They play.
I'll take Penn State.
And you think so?
I'll take Penn State.
I'm going to wait till we get to that point. That's a long way off. They got 2 games to play before they get to that. And I'm sure we'll do a prediction that week of.
Oh, yeah, we will.
I don't know. I don't know. The fact that they have a brand new head coach.
That's the only reason I was going to go with Penn State.
Yeah, and the fact that it's a brand new head coach and you got James Franklin at home, I kind of would lean to Penn State.
Right.
But I gotta wait and see what Auburn looks like.
Right.
What's that quarterback they got?
Off the top of my head.
Oh, what is his name?
I can't think of him off the top of my head.
I can't think of his name. That's gonna drive me nuts. But anyway, he's coming back, and I thought he was pretty good. He was. I mean, he wasn't.
He was the starter last year.
Yeah. Gosh.
I know what you're talking about. He was actually really good
the kid that he was an Auburn fan like his entire life. Gosh, that's gonna drive me nuts. Whatever. It's let's just move on because
not Nick's.
No, Nick's. Wait, is it Nick's?
Okay, we're gonna look that up.
I don't know. It's
gonna bother me too that I can't think of who it is.
I'm just gonna try to forget about it.
Yeah. Good luck with that. We're gonna move on to our next segment, which is just college football news. I talked about it in the beginning. Yeah. News about the NCAA, the D1, the council meeting for the NIL, name, image, likeness. They're going to be meeting June 22nd, 23rd. I don't know what you have on it. I know I have a few things, but I'll let you go ahead and take the lead on this.
All I have is, and it's trying to decipher hieroglyphics sometimes with this legal junk.
Right.
But the only thing I gather from it is, the NCAA is trying to basically get out in front of all these other states that are trying to, pass laws on the NIL.
Right.
And they're expected to make a decision to either approve or deny changes that could go in effect on July 1 if they approve it.
Right.
And the changes would be allowing student athletes to use their name, image, and likeness to promote camps, private lessons, their own products, and commercial products. Mm-hmm. Also allow them to be paid for autographs and appearances, and to crowdfund for nonprofits, family hardships, and then educational expenses that aren't provided by their scholarships. Now, to me, and again, I don't have any legal background at all, so I don't understand that junk. But the way it sounds to me is that when I hear that first line, which talks about that they're able to promote commercial products,
right?
That's NCAA football 14 or NCAA football 2023 or whatever it is.
They're coming out with it.
EA. That's the football game. That's what that sounds like to me.
It does.
And I don't care what else they do. I mean, I'm a college football nerd and a NCAA nerd. I want that game back. Right. Everybody wants that game back. You got ESPN commentators that want the game back.
Everybody does want it, and they've been trying for years to get it worked out. What I found was there was a couple people that came out of the kind of in the know, said that not likely that we're going to get the yes we want in the 6 weeks. I think it's about 6 weeks out that we're going to want on July 1st. They're going to say that they don't. Yeah, it's not going to happen. It doesn't
surprise me.
It's not going to happen. Because they can't agree on everything.
Right. And I originally thought when I first read it that it was the Supreme Court making this meeting to make this decision.
No.
And it's not. It's an NCAA council.
Right.
And it's somebody that they've appointed, that they've set up. Right. So, and it's being presented to them.
And what's going to happen with that is if it's a no, then it's going to wind up in the Supreme Court. Exactly. Yeah. So they're saying right now it won't. And this is the other part that I found kind of goes into the states that have approved something to be able to pay their players for that name, image, likeness. Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, New Mexico, which was a surprise. I think I already said Mississippi, and Tennessee are the 6 states that have already approved.
So you basically named every school that has either been caught
or has an investigation.
Has some type of pending investigation, right. Has been named for something, except New Mexico. What team in New Mexico is paying kids to come play? Please tell me. Or is that their way of trying to, they're like, oh, we're going to recruit now.
New Mexico State is the only relevant.
I don't know any, there's a University of New Mexico, right? No? I don't know. I don't even know.
Yeah, the New Mexico, is it the Lobos?
Maybe. What's New Mexico State? I thought they were the Lobos.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking about. Then.
Okay.
New Mexico State Lobos. That's the only one that's in that state that I could think of. But anyhow, I thought New Mexico was. But the other thing that got to me was the other 5 states are in the SEC.
Well, again, I mean.
Well, I'm not arguing, but but the NCAA is going to need to get out in front of this.
Yeah.
Because these states that have them, the universities are going to be at an advantage, which I'm not complaining about UT, but they're going to have an advantage
over. Be real.
I mean, you're going to give Alabama. You're going to give Alabama a leg up on Clemson and Ohio State, Texas, any Pac-12 team.
Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially what you're saying.
A legal leg up.
Well,
they've had the leg up.
They've had the advantage for a while.
Which, of course, I mean, we've been illegally trying to get a leg up, and what has that got us?
Got some trouble.
Lots
by
of debt,
players,
coaches that didn't pan out, players transferring away, lots of depressed fans. Like, how many fans have you had to talk off the ledge this week, Keith? Like, I mean, I don't know.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting. There were six states that have already approved some sort of it, and I don't know that will take effect this year, or if it's going to be something that may take effect after the season's over. I don't know if the players this year could be paid, but I know that those are the 6 states that were named that have approved some sort of legislation.
See, and I think, talking about EA, I think EA anticipated this to be this long of a prolonged problem.
Right, and that's why they put it off for a couple years.
Yeah, I think that's why they pushed it back so far.
Not only that, but I think they were wanting for this game to live up to the hype. They didn't want to rush the game out. They didn't want to.
I get that, but EA cannot tell me that they have not been quietly developing or had something on the back burner. Like, if they wanted to get that game out this summer, I think they could have. There's no way.
Possibly. Well, they have the mechanics already from the previous games and from Madden as well.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if you're a gamer, you know that Madden is very clunky at times.
Yeah. Not like NCAA used to be.
Not like NCAA used to be. And there was always a difference between Madden and NCAA.
Yeah.
But that's why they prolonged it to 2023, because they knew that it would take a while for the legal part of this to get through. Anyways, so we're going to move on, unless you have anything else on this one.
No, I don't have anything else.
We've already talked about it at least one of our other podcasts about this in depth. But we're going to move on to a game that was played, I think, this past Monday. Is that right? Or was it Sunday? It was Sunday. Yep. The FCS National Championship game, which was between
South Dakota State and Sam Houston State.
That's right.
Great game.
And I watched part of the first half and then got busy and then ended up catching like the fourth quarter. And I was so glad.
The best time to tune in. Yeah.
I was so glad that I was actually able to get back around in front of the TV to sit down and watch, because it was amazing.
It was a pretty good game the entire game, but it really got good that fourth quarter.
Oh, absolutely.
That fourth quarter got really, really good. Man, I was impressed with both teams, really. Like, I was texting you, and I was like, dude, this is a better game than we had with the Alabama and Ohio State championship game.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
This is a more exciting game than that one.
It was. It was a very exciting game to watch.
And, which I don't know, and it was so enjoyable. I don't know if it's just because there was no football. Like, it was like, oh, we got actual competitive college football on.
Right.
But it was a good game. It was a really good game. Some things that stuck out to me. First of all, Sam Houston. Okay, that was their third game making a comeback to win. Like, that was their third come-from-behind victory.
Right.
In the playoffs.
In the playoffs. Not just this season, yeah.
The
playoffs.
In the quarterfinals, they were playing North Dakota State, and they were down 20-17, and they scored with 4:38 left to win 24-20.
Yep.
This next week in the semifinals, they played James Madison. They were down 24-3 at halftime.
Ooh.
Halftime. They scored 28 points just in the third quarter and came back and won 38-35. And then last week, of course, if you didn't get to watch the game, first of all, you missed a great game. Sucks for you. You missed some good football.
You did miss some really good football.
And I'm talking to you, Brian Hamby, Cody Muse, because, well, I don't know. Cody might have watched it. Brian did not, though, so I'm talking to you, Brian. But anyway, it was a good game. It was a really good game, and it came down to South Dakota State. Their freshman running back, Isaiah Davis, scored an 85-yard touchdown. He looked like Derrick Henry on that play. Did you see the stiff arm?
I wouldn't compare him to Derrick Henry. I would more like a Mike Alstott. Because he was more like rumbling down the sideline, because Derrick Henry leaves people. Alstott didn't leave people. He had guys coming.
He broke one or two tackles, and then everybody
saying.
had to trail it. But anyways, he busted an 85-yard. Oh yeah, it was really impressive. He busted an 85-yard touchdown. South Dakota State goes up 21-17 with 5:41 left, and it looked like the ball game.
Mm-hmm.
I thought game over.
I actually
nail in the coffin. That's it. Game over.
Nope.
And the only reason I thought that is because it was such a low scoring. I mean, 21-17 at that point.
Right.
It was such a low scoring game. I thought, I don't know if they can score.
Right.
But Sam Houston has a guy by the name of Jaquez Ezzard.
And that's the only reason I stayed watching. Was just for that
my
cat.
gosh. He actually had a punt return for a touchdown. That's the first play I saw him him score on. He had a punt return for a touchdown that was just, it was nice. It was really nice.
It was.
And there was a block in the back that really didn't even need to happen. If the guy had never touched him,
right,
he would have been
no
effect.
effect.
Had no effect. And so they got brought back. But they went to Jaquez Ezzard pretty much that entire drive.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get in the red zone, and it's going to Ezzard. No, they throw a 10-yard pass to, and I looked this name up, and I can't remember how to pronounce it, but I'm going to try it. Ife a day. I think that's how I looked that up.
Sounded right.
It's spelled a little funky, and I'm not sure how to pronounce it, and I hope I didn't butcher it, but Ife a day caught the game-winning touchdown, only touchdown of the game, most important touchdown of the game.
Right.
And they ended up winning 23-21, caught it with 16 seconds left.
Right.
And just took all the wind out of South Dakota State itself.
Right.
It was crazy, though.
Well, and then South Dakota State had a chance at the end.
Yeah,
I mean, they were in range for a field. I mean, those one play away from being in range for a field.
I couldn't figure out why. Like, they took so long on that last play.
It was
almost like they were trying. They did a hook and ladder.
Which made sense. I got the play call. It didn't work out like they wanted.
Well, they did that the play before, but then they tried doing it again on the second play.
That's what I'm saying. The second play,
and
I didn't
understand why they tried doing that.
I don't either.
I don't know if there was some miscommunication.
Oh no,
I think they didn't think they had enough time to get out of bounds. I don't know. But I mean,
don't know. I don't get it either. I think you try to throw like a quick out or whatever.
Something
whatever they're going to give you.
Yeah, kill the clock and at least give your kicker a chance. If he misses it, he misses it.
Right.
It's
and
better than
even if it's an incomplete pass, you still have a shot at the end zone.
Right.
You still have a shot.
I don't know. I didn't get it.
Inbounds with no timeouts. I didn't get. But either way, it was an amazing game.
It was
one of those games you hate to see a team lose because they played so well.
And I will say, Jaquez Ezzard. Mm-hmm. If you have not heard his name, you're gonna hear it.
Oh, it's
that he's got to get signed by somebody. Some NFL team has he's a graduate senior, and I wonder if he's going to come back another year.
I would imagine he does just because of COVID, and then he can have a pro day and try to get to the combine and all that bunch of stuff. So I imagine he's going back.
He had 10 catches for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Wow.
And that's not even counting. I didn't put his punt to return yards in here.
Well, he actually missed a touchdown pass right before halftime. It was a one-handed
grab. Yeah.
And the coach wanted pass interference. I actually thought it was really well played by the defensive back, but it was an amazing effort. He almost brought it down. Brought it down. Anyway.
But, yeah. It was a good game, though. Great game.
Great game. We're going to move on to another one. It's going to be our college football spotlight, and it's going to be somebody that one of us picks for a week, and we're going to kind of talk about the importance of the player, the coach, whatever it is. And Jesse took this week, and I actually don't know who he's picked. I have no idea. It's going to be a surprise for me just as much as it is for you. So I'm going to go ahead and let him take it away. Be fun to discuss this one.
And actually, the guy I took away was the dude that you said wasn't Derrick Henry, that I compared to Derrick Henry. I took the dude from South Dakota State, Isaiah Davis.
Right.
And I bet you didn't know this because I didn't know this. First of all, does he look 6'1", 220?
He looks 220.
You think so? He did. I didn't think.
I would imagine if you would have told me he was 6'1", 220, I would have said 5'10", 200.
Okay.
5'10", 200. Because he looks like a little wrecking ball. That's what he looks like.
Yeah, he does. He's 6'1", 220. Okay. Did you realize he was a freshman? Would you have guessed he was a freshman?
When I first seen him run, I thought, no, I wouldn't have imagined. But then, of course, they bring up the spotlight on the kid. And I was like, oh, wow, that's a freshman. And then he has to run.
You already knew, okay.
Right, I knew that. But then he had to run right at, the warm-up with, a minute and a half or whatever was left.
So
he looked good on that run.
Yeah, he looked really good. So Isaiah Davis, that's another name. If you've never heard Isaiah Davis, you're going to hear it. You will hear it. He's a freshman at South Dakota State, running back. Mm-hmm. He was actually the Missouri high school. He played at a 6A school in Missouri. I didn't write down the name of the school, so sorry about that. But he was the Gatorade Player of the Year for the state of Missouri.
Wow.
But at 6'1", 220, the dude can move. He can move.
Oh, yeah.
And in that game alone, he had 14 carries for 178 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
He scored all 3 of their touchdowns in the game. Okay? I have his season stats here, and it's just unbelievable that a freshman is able to do something like this anywhere. He went 96 carries for 818 yards and 10 touchdowns this season. He was a little under 200 yards shy of 1,000 yards.
1,000 yards. Yeah.
Now, if you compare his stats, he was second in the entire FCS for rushing. The guy ahead of him had 855 yards, a whole lot more carries than he had.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I think he was actually a senior too.
Wow. Wow.
But if you compare him, if you take him and the guy ahead of him and throw them in the FBS, you know where he ranks on rushing for the entire this is every FBS school. So it's all the running backs from top to bottom.
And are you talking about the ones that played this past season that played?
I'm talking about everybody from the past season of the FBS. There's a lot of names in here.
Okay, so
there's up to I think it goes to 60 or something or 100. The list here for ESPN's stat line.
Okay, so I want to take how many games did they play? Do you have that?
He played 10.
Okay, so he played 10 games. Most, if not all, I mean not all, but most.
A lot of these teams though, he played 10, but a lot of these guys on this list, the majority of the guys on this list played 12, 13.
This past season?
Yeah, because they had 10-game schedule, conference title, playoffs. Bowl games.
6.
No, he's lower than that.
Okay.
Actually, I guess compared to yours, he's quite a bit lower than that, but I still think it's pretty high. He would be 27 on the list.
That's not bad.
But when you compare, and he's a freshman, but when you compare it to the other guys, I mean, think about the dudes that are ahead of him on this list, though. Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, Breece Hall, Michael Carter, Javonte Williams. All these guys played a longer season, played more games, and they had a lot more carries. He had 96 carries. There isn't a single guy. No, there's not a single. There's 50 names on this list. Not a single guy on this list has less than 100 carries.
Okay, on that list, I mean, I'm just going to ask. Can you look up on yards per carry?
Yards per carry,
and do a sort by that.
I could sort about that. I think
because that will to me that's going to show how effective he was as a running back.
So the leader for yards per carry had wait a minute. Oh no, it's going to go by the list. Never mind. No, that ain't going to work.
Okay.
Never mind. This list is if I go by. Okay, here we go. 7.6 is the yards per carry
for him.
For no, that's not for him. That's for the highest in NCAA.
Okay.
His good question. I didn't have that pulled up. Thanks, Keith, for throwing out a stat. Let me just figure it up.
Yeah, but say just real quick division. You're a teacher. You should know how to do this.
I don't teach math, Keith. 8.5. 8.5 yards per carry.
Wow. That's impressive.
No, you want to hear what's impressive? This is impressive. How many he played 10 games, okay?
Right.
You know how many games he had with over 10 carries?
Well, he would average less than 10. If it's 10 games, he had 96 carries.
Yeah. He only had 5 games with more than 10 carries.
So half the season he had more than 10, but wow.
He had his first game against Northern Iowa, he had 1 carry for 2 yards. Second game, he had 2 carries for 6 yards. Third game, he had 9 carries for 118 yards, and the coaches were like, hey, we might have something here. Maybe we should give this guy the ball. But then they play Youngstown, and he only had 3 carries for 12 yards. But his breakout game was at Southern Illinois, the team that beat North Dakota State.
Right.
He had 22 carries for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns. This kid's a freshman.
That's impressive.
His fifth game ever playing college football. He had 22 carries, 150 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
That's impressive.
He had 1, 2, 3, 4 games over 100 yards, 3 games over 150.
That's impressive.
As a freshman.
That's impressive.
That's very impressive.
That's impressive.
Very
impressive.
Anyway, so that's my spotlight of the week. If you haven't heard his name before, you get used to hearing him. Throw this out there too. South Dakota State actually opens their season this year at Colorado State on September 4th.
Oh, wow.
I know it's not like, huge, but I mean, Colorado State's a D1, FBS
Right.
D1.
Yes.
They're coached by Steve Adazio. Remember the name Steve Adazio?
Mm-hmm.
He's a very good college football coach. Was at Boston College. Had some successful seasons there. I'm excited to see what Isaiah Davis can do up
against that level of competition.
And he wears number 22.
I seen that. Derrick Henry.
Who does that remind you? Yeah, Derrick Henry.
I knew that's where you were going. I knew that's where you're going.
I would say he tries to mirror his game like Derrick Henry. That stiff arm looked a little Derrick Henry-ish.
Oh, dude, it was so nasty.
It was a nasty stiff arm.
Not only was it a nasty stiff arm, but he did it in traffic.
Yes.
There was his teammates, and there was a couple of defenders around him on the sideline when he kind of, just kind of put the brakes on.
He's up against it. Like, he's up against the sideline and stayed in bounds, gave that nasty stiff arm.
And then took off and left people.
Left him in the dust.
He did. It was.
And I think he broke a tackle right before he threw that stiff arm. Didn't he?
It was.
I think he slipped out
it was a couple. Maybe 5 yards behind.
Okay,
maybe kind of came out of it and was up the sideline. Kind of got corralled. Guy got on him, gave him a stiff arm, and then kind of squirted out on the sideline and scored. It was impressive. It was really impressive.
My thing is, and I just wonder does he stay at South Dakota State? Does he transfer?
At least one more year.
You think so?
At least one more year. Well, just because.
Well, he'll have to stay at one more year, for sure.
Because of their late season and turnaround and all that. But I imagine that he will end up somewhere else.
See, that's what I kind of think. I kind of think
if he has a good season.
If he has a good season, I think he'll go somewhere bigger. I mean, you figure, dude, he had 3 games with less than 5 carries. 5 games with less than 10 carries.
Right.
Imagine if he gets 10 carries in all 10 of his games. He's probably got 1,000 yards.
Absolutely.
And that's the most yards. Nobody in FCS had 1,000 yards. Nobody.
I can see him I can see him clearing 1,000.
I could too.
I could also see other players within that level doing the same thing. And what's
crazy is they actually have a running back. I wish I wrote his name down, but South Dakota State has a guy who rushed for 1,000 yards last season, and he was the lead back. That's why he wouldn't get as many carries early on.
I got you.
And then Isaiah Davis started kind of showing what he could do.
Oh, absolutely.
And some of his carries started going away.
Right.
But yeah, so it's kind of interesting, and I want to think that guy was either second or third team All-American.
The starter?
The starter, yeah, the starter.
Wow.
I'll have to look up his name.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That's really impressive. All right, so we're going to move on. This is going to be our new segment, and it's going to be the what ifs. And for me, I guess it's a what if section, segment.
It is. And real quick, I'm going to shout him out because Cody Muse gave me this idea.
It actually is a good idea. Great
idea.
I don't want to give Cody the credit, but you kind of have to because he did give us the idea.
So, Cody, appreciate you for the idea on this. I thought it was really cool. So, we're going to kind of spin it a little bit and talk about more than just teams like we're going to talk about tonight.
Right.
But I just want to shout out that he gave us this idea, and it's pretty cool. And if anybody else has any ideas, guys, shoot them our way.
Right.
Because
send us a message on
we'd
Facebook,
love to hear
on Twitter, within the Anchor app, whatever you guys want to do. We're more than welcome to any kind of suggestion that you all want us to talk about. But anyways, we talked about, and I don't know the team that you selected. I know the one that I did. We want to know.
I've got 2 in case you selected the same team. So
that was actually pretty smart because I don't know if we would have selected the same team because we
probably would have. We're
actually
in that regard. We're pretty similar.
Yeah. But I want to know. What if Texas was one of the teams?
Okay. Yeah.
Did you have them?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So if Texas is nationally relevant, what would that change in the national landscape of things?
Right.
For Texas, when they're good, you got the Red River. Oh man, Red River rivalry.
I can't do it 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I can't. I calmed it up this week. The Red River rivalry becomes not only a game to watch. It's always a game to watch just because of the rivalry between Oklahoma and Texas. But it's one of those games that if Texas is good, because Oklahoma is right now, if Texas is good, that becomes a national game that everybody wants to watch.
Right.
It becomes Alabama-Auburn when Auburn was, in the conversation for national title.
Yeah.
It becomes a Michigan-Ohio State.
Right.
It becomes one of the other. I'm trying to think of one of the other big time games. I can't think off the top of my head. USC Notre Dame that we talked about earlier.
Yep.
When Texas is good, that game right there becomes nationally relevant.
Right.
Georgia-Florida would be another rivalry.
Yep.
That is nationally relevant, especially now that Florida's back decent again. But you want to see that these big time rivalry games not only be competitive,
right,
but be nationally relevant as far as your college playoff, your seeding goes. How does it affect your conference title game? That game right there becomes nationally relevant if Texas is good.
I agree.
You have a better representation of the Big 12 because right now all it is Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Or Iowa State at this point.
Iowa State's kind of coming on, but they ain't going to be up forever. Honestly, I kind of feel like
Texas has the number or the money coming in.
Right.
That they should be nationally relevant.
Yeah.
They should be representing the Big 12 outside of just Oklahoma. Texas should be there. It just feels right.
Well, and I think we talked about Matt Campbell last week a little bit about what happens if this, or this.
Right.
I kind of think he's hit his ceiling. I think he's went.
That's how I feel.
Almost as far as he can go. He's reached the Big 12. I still think he's winning the Big 12 this year. I'm still calling that. I feel comfortable with that. But I think that's as far as he can go. Yeah, it's as far as he can go, though. I mean,
he wins. Think he can get to a national title?
I don't think
so. Or at least the playoffs?
I think he could potentially get playoffs, but even if he does, then what? I don't know that it continues. So, it all falls back on Oklahoma. If Texas is not good or not relevant,
right,
it all falls on Oklahoma's shoulders. And the thing that I think is has kind of shifted gears a little bit during this span of Texas, being down, is before, if you were a top prospect coming out of Texas, it was Texas or bust.
Right.
As far as where you're going to play college ball.
Right.
I feel like Baylor and A&M changed the landscape of recruiting.
A&M not only being in the SEC for as long as they have been now, but they're in the SEC, but now they're also becoming nationally relevant under Jimbo Fisher.
Right.
I mean, they proved that last year. So now as a recruit, you're going, well, A&M is now a real possibility to go and get nationally seen.
Yeah.
And Texas being down, that doesn't help anything. You want to see Texas up, and you want to see A&M up.
Right.
You want to see those kids be able to choose at least between the two.
Yeah.
To stay in Texas, if not go to Oklahoma or Alabama or wherever these guys are going.
I agree completely.
So, and I think Sark gets them there. I don't think. I mean, I know I made a bold prediction. I think he gets in there year one, but that's a bold prediction.
Yeah.
Realistically, I think it's year 2, year 3 before he has them ranked top 20 consistently.
I think he makes a splash. I think like I said before, I think he gets some wins that we probably don't expect him to get right out the gate. I think as far as making them, when we say nationally relevant, we're talking about just like consistent top 25 placement.
Absolutely.
I think he could crack the top 25 year one. I think that's possible.
I think it is too. I think he still loses to Oklahoma. Probably doesn't beat Iowa State.
I don't know.
But I mean, if that's his only 2 losses, I think he can still make the. Top 25.
I think
with 2 losses to those 2 good teams.
I think the top 25 is a doable goal. I think that's a good goal to have.
Right.
Because that helps your recruiting first of all.
Absolutely. Look what we're getting to. Look where we're going.
Right.
So that would be my pitch if I was him to recruits.
Yeah. I think he could even potentially, if he could, finish somewhere in that 3rd place spot in the Big 12.
Right.
He's probably looking at like a Cotton Bowl or something.
Cotton Bowl, yeah.
Maybe that's too big. I don't know. But
Music City Bowl is possible for him. But yeah,
if he could get something like that though, I think that'd be a great start,
right,
to his tenure. But yeah, I think Texas. I agree though. I think Texas. It's better for college football when Texas is good.
I agree, 100%.
I'm not a Texas fan. I never have liked Texas, but it is better for college football as a whole.
I'm indifferent
when
to
Texas is good.
But you're right.
And that's the whole point with this, with these teams that we're picking in this segment is, it's better. What's better for college football?
Right. It's not better for what's better for, a fan base of A&M or Baylor or Oklahoma or Alabama. Because, for those guys, they don't want Texas to be up because it becomes harder for them to recruit.
Right.
But when Texas is up, the NCAA as a whole is better. It's a better game.
I think it's better for the Big 12.
Oh, absolutely.
I think you got better
TV
TV deals. You got better, fan engagement. You got better ticket sales.
Right.
Everything as a whole for the conference, for college football as a whole, is just better.
Right. Well, I mean, if Texas is down and you're a fan of Kansas and Texas is coming to town, you're not going to go watch Texas.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Unless
you're expecting them to beat them.
I mean,
right.
But when Texas is good, it's like, hey, I'm gonna go watch. So these guys play that might be a next level guy.
Right.
So it's just better for college football. That was my team. I'll let you go ahead and take over.
So my team, kind of playing off of everything that you just said, or the reasons are the same. And I actually had, like I said, I had two. There's actually a handful of teams that
I had a handful, and I just tried to pick the.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of teams that make college football better when they're good.
Right.
But I think a big one for me is USC. I think USC.
That's a good one.
I think USC is a big one for a lot of reasons. One, I think it's better for the college football landscape. We talked about that USC Notre Dame rivalry.
Absolutely.
That game gets a lot more attention when USC is good. Notre Dame is good right now.
Right.
And I still think that it will likely get some attention. Because USC has which USC always has expectations. But I think it's big for that reason. I think it's big for the Pac-12. I think that the Pac-12 suffers when USC is not good because the Pac-12, their games are played. They're so far behind everybody on the East Coast and Central Time Zone that nobody watches their games.
Right.
And if USC has been the one that everybody's flocked to. You think about Pete Carroll and Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush, those guys that came through there and were just fun to watch.
Right.
Without that, nobody's watching.
Nobody's watching.
It's too late. It's too late to watch a game. What's the point of watching, USC and Stanford when neither team is relevant?
Right.
What's the point? Yeah, nationally. What's the point of watching Notre Dame beat up on USC on NBC at 11 or 12 o'clock at night?
Right.
When Notre Dame's gonna win the game.
Right.
And all the points that you just made about recruiting.
Right.
You got those kids in California that it was USC or bust.
Right.
Or sometimes some of them UCLA, but typically USC or bust.
Right.
You're losing out on all those kids.
Right.
I mean, look at Henry T.
Henry To'oTo'o.
Henry T. should have been a USC kid.
You would think.
And I say that, and I'm probably going to make Tennessee fans faithful upset when I say that, or even Alabama fans upset when I say that. But realistically, think about it. He went to De La Salle.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I'm not sure where actually. It's not far from.
It's in
USC, I don't think
it's in the Los Angeles area.
That's what I thought. He grew up in De La Salle, and he should be a USC kid.
He should be.
He's a linebacker. Look at the linebackers that played under Pete Carroll: Brian Cushing, Ray Maluga, Clay Matthews.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't a linebacker, but Troy Polamalu.
That was the name I was going to say. Troy Polamalu.
Look at the defensive players that they've had play. Wear the USC colors and just ball out.
Mm-hmm.
And he, by all means, should have been a Trojan.
I agree. 100%.
But they're not relevant. So why would he? Why would he go there?
Well, the USC thing is very interesting on a couple of different levels. When Pete Carroll was there and he was doing what he was doing, there was not a professional team that was in the area. There was no Los Angeles Chargers and let's see the pro team that's there now. Chargers and the Rams.
Rams.
Los Angeles Rams. there was no pro team there. And every great college program, you talk about Alabama, you talk about Ohio State and Columbus, Clemson. I can't think. Is it Columbia? Is that where they're at? Clemson.
No, they're in Columbia. Columbia is South Carolina.
Okay. Either way, when you see a great college football program, even Texas, which is in Austin, there's not a professional team there. So now USC is not only having to compete with the money and the TV deals, they have to compete with the pros. You get what I'm saying? It pulls the fan base.
I get what
it pulls money away as far as your tickets and your concessions and all that. Because those people are going to have to decide: am I going to spend $50 on a ticket to go to USC, or $50 or $100 to go watch a pro?
Yeah.
So to me, USC is fighting an uphill battle that not a lot of programs, major programs, are having to fight. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can get back up to be nationally relevant. You would think, because they're in California, they're in the Los Angeles area, they should be pulling some talent.
And I think about this too.
But you're right, Toa should be at USC.
Yeah, he should have been. He should have been at USC. But I think about this too, like and this plays off of fan attendance again. But my favorite bowl game to watch.
Oh, I know, Rose Bowl.
It's the Rose Bowl.
Oh, I love it.
It's a Big Ten and Pac-12 bowl,
right?
But yet it's my favorite one to watch. It's
it
is the granddaddy of them all.
Right.
It is.
You've got the parade. You've got all kinds of things that go into it, and the game itself it's just a beautiful setting for a football game.
Yeah.
The stadium is. Just it looks good.
But you know how sick I am of seeing Oregon and Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl. I'm being real, and I'm not. I know I'm not the only college.
I know you're being honest because it's true.
I know I'm not the only college football fan that thinks that way. And, I would love to see a USC Michigan or a USC Ohio State. That's the type of Rose Bowl I want to see.
Right. I want to see UCLA represented in it.
Yeah, or even UCLA. I
know we're talking about USC, but I want to see somebody, like you said, other than Oregon represented.
Yes, I'm sick of seeing Oregon in the Rose Bowl. I don't know.
The credit to them, they earned the right to get there.
Yeah, they have. But that's mine, though. I think that USC, and it's funny that we chose USC in Texas. We're talking about the Rose Bowl because that's the last great Rose Bowl I remember watching was 05.
I remember that. That was a great game.
So that's hilarious that we ended up into that spot.
Yeah, that was kind of cool turnaround.
Didn't even mean for that to happen.
No.
But yeah, so that's just proving our point. College football is better. Think about how fun that year of college football was.
Oh my gosh,
that was amazing. An exciting year of college football.
It was. Of course, the big stories there was Vince Young and Reggie Bush.
Right.
They had the Heisman battle, and
yeah.
It was just a really good year of football. Just kind of watch and hope to see that those teams got there.
Yeah.
So
Vince Young got a national championship. Reggie Bush got a house on Malibu.
Reggie Bush's family got a house on. It wasn't just Reggie's.
I'm sure Reggie had another one. He probably had multiple houses.
I imagine that
probably a sports car.
Not only was USC taking care of him, the donors were making sure that he was.
They're taken care of. Taken care of.
All right. So the last segment for the day, guys. It's gonna be our 5 and 5. I got my phone out. I'm going to try and hold Jesse to it, but I don't think it never works out. It actually might work out this week because there's not a whole lot as far as
not a lot to say.
In depth. There's not a whole lot of analysis that goes in with this 5 and 5. So I think Jesse was actually going to be okay, unless he gets on a tangent.
Always throwing me under the bus.
Well, because you always aggravate me about some of my picks, and you're like, no,
we'll make better picks.
Steve Spurrier needs to be in the top 20.
Steve Keith.
A league of their own isn't a top.
I haven't said that in a while,
but
Keith.
Now I'll say this: when we was, I guess it was last Friday, we was playing either PGA or Warzone, and we had Marcus on. We was just kind of talking with him, and he actually brought up a sports movie that I should have put in mine. I think you should have put in yours. That would have bumped out League of Their Own, and that's what I'm getting at. You should have said League of Their Own.
You mentioned a couple. Which one? You talking about Field of Dreams?
Field of Dreams.
Field
of Dreams should have been in
Field of Dreams bumps out League of Their Own big time.
Oh, I'm agreeing with you on that. League of Their Own. I think there was another one he mentioned, but I can't remember now. But I do remember Field of Dreams.
He mentioned a couple that were I was like, oh, I didn't think of those.
Didn't even think of those. Caddyshack, I think, was one, but I didn't have it on my list.
That's a good one. I don't know if that cracks my top 5 or not.
It don't crack my top 5, but it was another good one he mentioned. But he did mention Field of Dreams, and I thought,
Field of Dreams.
How do you not think of Field of Dreams?
I don't know.
We both left it out.
Yeah. Which I don't know that I could put him.
It would be my top 5. If it
would be
number
my
5.
top 5, it'd probably be 5. Yeah, probably bump out any given Sunday.
Well, for me, it'd be a League of Their Own. I love a league of their own, but Field of Dreams is just such a. If you build it, they will come. I mean, it's just an iconic, just kind of a way of saying that. Anyhow, so we're going to do our top 5 live mascots.
So, yeah, before we get into this, I'm curious. How did you base when you made yours, what did you base did you base it off of let me just tell you how I did mine. Mine were, with live mascots, a good mascot, in my opinion, is a mascot that strikes fear into the opponent. Is that how you based it, or did you just base it off the coolest one, the coolest looking one?
They're just the ones I like to see. I got fan engagement. How do the fans react to having this sideline on the sideline?
Yeah.
And also kind of like what you're saying. I know for a fact. Not for a fact, but I'm gonna need to pick one now.
Huh? What are you about to say?
I know there's one.
No,
that you picked. There's only one that you picked that's on my list. The rest of them I don't know. Maybe 2.
Really? I figured we'd have a few. Okay, all right.
All I'm saying is I know there's 2.
Okay.
That is going to be on your list that's on mine. I'll be surprised if the 2 that I'm thinking of aren't on both lists.
Okay.
Probably more. I don't think you've got my number 5, but the rest of them I assume you have.
All right.
But like I said, mine's based off fan engagement, fearfulness. I guess is what you're talking about. Fear in the heart.
I want my thing is if I walk out into a field and I see this mascot,
right?
I'll be like, whoa, okay, I'm keeping my eyes on where that thing's at, or even on the campus,
right?
Because a couple of mine aren't actually on the field,
right?
They're on campus,
right?
And just the fact that they're on campus is enough to scare me.
Well, there was one that when I was looking it up, and I thought because it was always constantly in a lot of the lists I looked up was ranked like number 2, number 3, and it was it's not on my list, so I'm going to go ahead and say it was the Georgia Bulldog.
Ugga. I'm glad it's not on your list because I was going to get upset.
It's not on my list.
And I don't know if it's the Tennessee fan in me or what, but Ugga was number 1 on, I think it was Bleacher Report.
It was. I seen that one. Yes.
And I was
it blew my mind. It blew my mind.
I mean, I'm going to give it. Listen, I'll give Ugga some credit because he snapped at the Auburn receiver.
It was pretty cool. That was funny. Cool. That was funny.
But
I love the dog. I love the dog. The dog is beautiful. It's a beautiful dog.
No, he's Ugga because he's ugly. You can't.
I love the dog. As far as I'm afraid of that mascot. No, it's a chubby dog on the sideline.
If we're picking cute cuddly dogs, Smokey's much better than Ugga all day, every day.
Absolutely. But I mean, that's the Tennessee fan is talking to.
Georgia Smokey, you can't tell me Smokey's not a prettier dog than Ugga.
I agree.
If you were a Tennessee fan or not.
I agree, but I'm a Tennessee fan, so I'm biased.
It doesn't matter, Keith.
I'm just saying. What I'm saying is, if you're a Georgia fan and you look at it, you're going, I take Ugga over Smokey. And
if you're a Georgia fan and you take Ugga over Smokey, you're delusional. And I want you to at me, at real red. Wait, what is my name?
I don't know.
Whatever. Put it in the
Rocky Top Red.
Yes, that's it. At real Rocky Top Red. At me. Because you're delusional and you're crazy.
I'll take up for you, Tennessee Keith.
I won't take up for you.
I'll take up for you because I think the dog is cute. Not as
cute as Smokey, I'm pretty sure CT would back me up on this. Clemson Tom, if you're listening, you'll back me up on this.
He probably would. But
you know what? They play week 1. I want to bring him on and let him just crap all over Ugga Lee.
All right. So now my number 5. I'm going to start the timer, and it won't take me 30 seconds to get through this, but I'm going to start it anyways because I know you're probably going to overrun your time. All right. So my number 5 is the Mountaineer from West Virginia. I mean, it's just a cool mascot. It represents the Southern Appalachian heritage and what West Virginia kind of stands for. And I just think it's a really cool mascot. And if you ever had seen the competition they do to who is going to be the mascot,
no.
Oh yeah, it's a really cool backstory. I think you have to be a part of 2 or 3 frat houses. You got to be a part of a fraternity, and the fraternities put forth their best guy to compete for the Mountaineer title.
So you're telling me the West Virginia Mountaineer is a frat boy?
Yeah, and it's awesome. If you ever watch the competition, it's awesome.
He's number 5.
Number 5, but it's
awesome. Keith.
Go ahead.
Not even gonna. Okay.
Go ahead. I've already went over my time.
Didn't realize we were putting West Virginia frat boys on the list, but anyway,
I'm just talking about the competition to get it is awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. Frat. Anyway, now I feel like what's that movie? That 80s movie.
You gotta give me more than an 80s movie.
Yeah, it was over there in college. Forget it. It don't even matter. But that's playing in my head right now. But anyway, or maybe old school. It could even go with that. But anyways, my number 5 is Renegade, the FSU horse. And
He's on my list. Yeah.
That first of all, that horse is pretty. That's a beautiful horse.
That's a beautiful horse.
And talk about you got a guy riding out on the field with a flaming spear, throws it into the ground.
It's awesome.
And the horse stands up. It's over from that point on.
It's awesome.
And then FSU's terrible, so it really doesn't matter. But
it's still cool.
It's still scary.
It's still cool.
It's scary.
All right, so my number 4 is, I'm hoping I say this right, Bevo's number 4. Bevo's number 4.
Oh,
I love it. I mean, just the Texas Longhorn.
Yeah, I like Bevo.
I assume he's on your list.
He is. You wrong again. That's okay.
But it's just a big Texas Longhorn. Yeah. I think do they run him out onto the field pregame?
Yeah. They do.
Is he sideline?
No, I think they run him out. I could be wrong, but
I think they do too.
My favorite thing of Bevo, and this is one reason why I love him so much, is did you see the Texas and Georgia Sugar Bowl when he about killed Ugly? That's all I'm gonna call him now. His middle name is Lee now. Ugly.
Right, because they had him like in a cage or whatever, like behind it. And
it was just like a what are those called? Like a railing or something.
Right. Right.
And he went through the thing.
Ugly got too close.
Yeah. Ugly was just chilling. He's just sitting there.
I thought he was barking at him. But anyways, I think Bevo
went after him. See, I don't know. The clip I saw was him going after him. He could have been barking at him. If he is, and that's what he gets. That's what he deserves. That's what Ugly does.
Agree.
Ugly,
Go ahead with your 4 because we're not even going to be close in our time.
No, we're not. But oh well. My number 4 is and I didn't even know this was a thing. I was looking up mascots and found these guys. Joy and Lady. Baylor University actually has 2 bears.
Really?
That started. No, it gets scarier. They started in 1917 bringing bears out on the field with chains.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Now they were tame, but could you imagine? It's still a wild animal. There's a thing in their brain that could flip at any minute. And they realize, hey, I could maul this guy on this chain.
Right.
They had 2 bears, and they're still on campus today. They're in a home.
Right.
But Joy and Lady used to be on the sidelines of football games. Could you imagine catching a pass on the sideline and all of a sudden there's a bear on a chain right there?
Nope.
Talk about peeing down your leg.
Nope. I'm not running that out route. I'm not doing it.
No.
Nope, I'm not doing it.
It's going to be a post. It's going to be a
rail to it's going to be a slant. It's
going to be a house call going all the way home.
If I'm a receiver, I'm going to run the slant, and I'm going to get my head taken off by a linebacker before I run it out and get ate by a bear.
Right to a bear. But that's my number 4.
All right, so my number 3 is Mike the Tiger from LSU.
That's hilarious. That's my number 3. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I mean, it's just a cool thing. They bring him out. He's in a cage. He's just pacing back and forth. It's a really cool thing to see.
I actually think that I think it was because of COVID, and they might bring him back, but they didn't have him last year. They had him in his glass.
They had him in his.
Yeah. I'm not sure if he'll get to come back or not, but
it'll depend on restrictions.
That's scary.
Oh yeah,
walking out. And they used to. I feel like I read that they used to park him outside the opposing team's tunnel, which is. I mean, I would too. If I had a tiger, I'd park him by the tunnel.
Shoot you out.
But they used to park him by the opposing team's tunnel.
I wouldn't put him in the cage. I just
put
him on the chain, and it's like let him kind of roam free a little bit.
Gosh, talk about striking fear into your opponent.
Absolutely, man.
But yeah, so and Mike the Tiger, I saw that one dates way back too, and there was something that happened in I think it was the 20s or 30s where Mike the Tiger roared at one of the games,
right,
and it just echoed throughout the entire stadium.
Right. I think I've seen that. That's pretty cool.
Could you imagine you're getting ready to snap the ball and you're down, and then a tiger roar? It's all right. That plays.
That's an awful roar.
Yeah.
I'll move on to my number 2. Ralphie the Buffalo.
Oh my gosh, that's my number 2.
And my number 2. Wow. That's kind of cool. Right? But it's cool because they actually do run the Buffalo. Like 4 or 5 guys are like holding on to this thing and they're running. It's just a cool sight to see. Yeah, I love Ralphie the Buffalo.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That takes 5 people. Did you know that's a female buffalo?
I did not.
It's not even a male buffalo.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and it's that big. It's a female buffalo and it's that big. Imagine a male buffalo.
They're huge.
Yeah, and which I like. My favorite mascots are the mascots. If you can tell the pattern here, are the mascots that could kill you, trample you, or maul you.
Right.
And that one is scary.
It is scary.
Ralphie is scary.
I mean, it's a buffalo. If you see that thing running, you're either going to poop down your pants or you're running, and it's probably a combination of both.
It's probably it's a combination. It's a combination.
All right, then my number 1 is one you've already said is Renegade from Florida State, and it's a cello. I'm probably mispronouncing that. It's the Native American that rides.
Yeah, the Seminole. Yeah,
the Native American that rides. And why they're number one for me? The horse is beautiful.
It is a beautiful horse.
But the second thing on that is, in a time where we're having to change the Redskins' name, and the Cleveland Indians are having to change their name because of I don't know. To me, it's silly, but the Seminoles are paying tribute. That they let the Native American come out and actually take part, and I think it's a good tribute to that tribe. I mean, and that's why it's number one for me. It's just really a cool thing that they do.
It's pretty cool, and it does strike fear. Like I said, until FSU starts playing, until terrible,
right?
And it doesn't matter.
At pregame, it's like and then postgame, you're like, why are we scared of those guys?
Yeah. Anyways, my number one is Bevo. Man, Bevo. I mean, he's a massive Longhorn. He's humongous.
He is massive.
And then I give him major credit for almost killing Ugly.
That was funny.
That was hilarious. But and if you ever saw the SEC Shorts clip of that,
I've watched SEC Shorts.
SEC Shorts is hilarious. Those guys are hilarious.
Oh, he does a great job. That guy that does most of them, he does a wonderful job with it. He talks
about, your mascot almost kills a dog on national television one time, and all of a sudden PETA's calling you. It's hilarious. Yeah, we'll have to look at that after the show. But anyway, Bevo, man, is, like I said, my mascots, if you can tell my theme, are the mascots that can either maul you, trample you, or something of the sort.
Right.
And Bevo could definitely maul you, or
absolutely,
could definitely trample you to death.
I wouldn't get close to him.
No, I wouldn't either.
So, all right, guys. Well, that's it. Unless Jesse has anything else for you, that's it from me.
I think that's all for me. I think we hit everything.
I think we did
on
too.
My notes.
All right. That's cool, guys. Make sure if you're watching us on YouTube, guys, leave us a like. Give us a subscribe. We go live every Thursday. I know it says 6 on the screen. We're going to try to be going at 7. If that changes, we'll let you know. We're on Twitter, Tennessee Keith, and
at Real. Somebody had Rocky Top Red. You believe that?
Yeah, I can.
I can't, but somebody had Rocky. I'm the real Rocky Top Red. Real Rocky Top Red.
I think mine's at GG Keith, Gridiron Gurus.
Somebody had Rocky Top Red, and I was like, this poser. Who is this?
Like, it's Tennessee Keith is the name. Make sure you go to Facebook, like us. Guys, leave us a comment. If you guys want us to discuss anything, guys, let us know in any of those formats, or even in the Anchor app. You guys can leave us a voice message, and we can actually play that on the podcast, and we can answer it. But that's it for me, guys.
Me.
Appreciations.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.